Mm-hmm. Did it again. You've got comments already, I think. Hmm.
Hello?
It's live right now.
Yes.
Can you see Joann moving?
Yes, I can.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Just cue me when it gets to be. Where would you like to be? Here. I don't know if you can see that far down on the floor or not. Go back up here.
2 minutes.
2, okay. I think we're ready. Middle of the road.
One minute.
Okay, I'm on the spot. You can't, can you see it on your phone? Oh.
He sends me a picture every now and then.
Oh. I don't get that.
Alice Shrum is sharing it.
Oh boy.
She says, "Hi, Mom."
Hi, Alice.
Aiden is here
Oh,
too.
goody.
Okay, I'll read these.
Aren't we at 1 o'clock though?
We're at 1.
1 o'clock. Hello, everyone. I'm Joann McMillan, and I am talking to you from my playhouse in Sherwood Forest. Hi, everybody. This is fun. This is my playhouse, as I said, and I had this building built around 2000 just to house all of my puppets. I tend to make things rather large, and all my supplies and materials that I use to make those puppets. So today, I would like to answer any questions you have for me. And also, I can tell you a little bit about my history. And I thought I would show you a project that I'm working on right now. So it kind of gives you an idea of how I make a lot of the puppets that I make. My story probably starts with my mom, who is a doll maker and always was making things, everything for the house, all of our clothing. She painted oil paintings and started making dolls and little porcelain fairies. Later on in life, when she got to be about 60 years old, she started making very elegant things. So my sister and I both were infused with the I want to make something muse from a very young age. And I was about 5 when she was my brownie troop leader and had us all make little puppets. And ever since then, I've been making puppets. I was a drama and education major in college, so I kept doing that. And a little ways into my career, I came to Oklahoma doing puppet shows and decided I wanted to stay here. It was so beautiful. I loved Lake Eufaula from the beginning. I was camping, and this was just a little bit of paradise. I wound up working with what were at that time the state lodges. I was the recreation director first at Arrowhead and then Fountainhead Resorts, and was able to keep going with the puppets, and we would have family programs Fridays when people were coming in, and I would do puppet shows there. Then I was lucky enough to have contact with the Oklahoma Arts Council, and I became an artist in residence and performing artist through them, which Glenn and I already knew each other from very early on because Nick, hi Nick, was it 3 or 4? His birthday?
Probably about 4.
4, Nick's 4th birthday. We had it at Ken's Pizza, and I did a puppet show for them. So Glenn and I have been friends a long time. The puppets have continued on. I still work through the Oklahoma Arts Council from time to time. and mostly do projects, the things that I really love and enjoy doing most. A lot of big puppets. I go to some festivals. I love music festivals because there I can just take all these giant puppets that I make and let people parade them around and dance to the music. Selby Minner's Blues Festival being one that I have taken puppets to for probably, geez, close to, well, Alice was 5, 6, 7. That outfit, she was 7 years old. And I definitely had a giant puppet there that we all danced with. Alice is quite a bit older than that now. So, Glenna said that one of the questions she likes to ask is, what would you like to be remembered for? Just put my phone outside. That's all I got. Good. What would I like to be remembered for 100 years down the road?
Yes.
I don't know 100 years down the road who's going to remember me. Aiden, maybe if you get to be 107, but it brings to mind something my mother always said to me. One time of note that she said it, we were at the Boy Howdy, and I saw this giant inflatable octopus as big as our swimming pool that had a sprinkler coming out of the top. And she said, "Oh, let me buy that for you. I like to give people things that bring them joy." So I guess that's what I would say is that I hope it would be remembered that all of the crazy pictures and things people were seeing, that's why I was doing it. So, anybody have a question, or should I go on to making puppets, Joann style?
Deanne says hello.
Hi. Okay, well, as I said, the giant puppets, and Glenna's going to try to move the screen around at the end so you can see more of what all is out here. Right now, we're afraid to move it because we cannot see what you are seeing, and we're afraid we won't get back to where you can see me. So I just tell you that I make these giant puppets. They're usually about 14 feet tall. I use great big bamboo poles to hold them up so they can be paraded around at festivals outside. I have done a couple of things with big puppets inside. I was so fortunate and excited that several years ago, the Tulsa Symphony had a new children's program director, and he happened to see me at the grand opening of just the ribbon splitting of the land for the gathering place in Tulsa, which is now, if you haven't been there and you're looking at me from Oklahoma, you're missing it. You need to get over there. It is the most amazing place I have ever seen, and it's all free. No charges for anything. Entry, all of the activities, it's all free, and it's beautiful. Well, this was when they just broke ground. And he saw me there and asked me if I would be interested in a project with a symphony. And I went, "Oh, yes." So they were doing Carnival of the Animals. And so I made a series of giant puppets that were, I've got a gorilla that's about 14 feet tall. Unfortunately, he's not inflated right now. And the various pieces of music, I made a great big puppet, and a friend of mine from Kansas City, Nancy Clark, who is a puppeteer, assisted me, and we got to perform that 2 years in a row for a giant daycare center in Broken Arrow that had gotten a grant for the symphony to present activities at this giant center. So that was wonderful, carrying these puppets and running them around and making them dance, and the symphony is right there playing. So that was fantastic. So that's some of the ideas, the giant puppets come from that. The ones I'm making now, I suddenly started, just a few weeks ago, thinking I'm almost satisfied with what I'm doing with the giant puppets. I think I'll try something smaller, like just life size. For me, anymore that small. I'm gradually working down to normal size puppets, but I'm not there yet. So I found a pattern that was for a doll that was big and did a lot of adaptations on it. And then this particular doll, you make the whole thing out of something like muslin. And then, and here's one that's the one that I'm working on now that's not finished. So you get this big, I hope they can see it all right, this big muslin doll. Now, luckily, the pattern included making then out of stretchy material a covering for the doll. So the stretchy material that I use is 100% polyester because what I like to do is print out pictures with a sublimation printing system that I can iron on to the covering before I sew it together. This one's going to be all about birds. That's why it's got really long arms, because they're going to be kind of the wings, and it's got pointy feet and fingers. So I print these things out, and then they get, thanks to my daughter Alice, who's a graphic designer, I have a press like the kind you see at Atlantic City to make t-shirts with, and that's what I use to put those images onto the material that will go on to the big dolls. So when it's done, it has pictures all over it. So that one's the birds, and the one that I have finished so far represents the flowers. So she has flowers printed all over her. I also, I bought a lot of artificial flowers to add to her array. But this is Violet. Hello, everyone. I am Violet. I'm very tall. There we go. Let me stand up. Sorry. I am the first of a set that will be the 7 colors of the rainbow. So I'm Violet, and my unfinished friend over there will be blue. And I represent flowers, and we think that one's going to be a boy, not built like me. And he'll be blue. And then we'll go on down through the spectrum and have one for each color. So I am the first of her, new kind of puppet. So honored to be here with you all today. I'm on! Oh, unfortunately, we had this conversation a little while ago. Lena thought I looked like I should be in a band. Well, Joann said that would be difficult because my creator cannot carry a tune. And she learned long ago that just having the look, as in Mary Travers of Peter, Paul, and Mary, and mine, I don't know who I would be, it's not enough. One must be able to actually sing. So I'm not going to be in a band, and we're not even sure exactly what I'm going to do. But it's going to be exciting, and hopefully it will bring a few people a little more joy in their life. Oh, thank you. Bye. All right, so that's Violet, and that's it. Excuse me for exposing you, dear, but you can see I printed flowers all over her rather thickly because I had a printer at that time that was somewhat malfunctioning. But I decided it was okay. It made her more of a dark violet than what I had in mind. I now have a new printer that seems to be making the colors come out right for our Birdman over there. So anyway, you can see, I ran out of ink and the printer stopped working right here. So don't look at her back. There we go. Oh, I'm sorry. Come on over here. All right, so that's how the great big ones are kind of the same way. The part I neglected to mention, oh dear, Violet's looking very undignified. Hold on. Here, why don't you just take a nap right here. There you go. That's better. All right. Yeah, put your arm up here. Okay. What I didn't mention, and I can show you this on our naked guy, is that whenever I can, there's a lot of stuffing, polyfill in here. But with the giant ones, I use no polyfill if I can possibly avoid it. And what's inside of all of them is Mylar balloons. So with the really big ones, I can't fit a whole cast in the car. I've got a big van with a high roof, but I still can't fit them all unless I take air out of some of the giant balloons I use for those, and then I can reinflate them when I get where I'm going. So this guy has got, stuffing where I need it to keep a shape exactly what I want, and then to just fill in space. There's one in each thigh, one in each upper arm, one up here, and one down here. So that's the secret. When I got to be 40, 50, 60 years old, I figured out that I really didn't want to be carrying around puppets that weighed 50 pounds. So that's when I started thinking about what could go in there that's lighter than polyfill, and air was about the only thing. So I tried it out with one, and it worked great. So now that's still what I'm doing is filling them up with air so I can carry them around. Do we have a question yet?
Not yet, but
Yeah.
I don't know if they know they can message
Oh,
in Facebook to ask a question.
right. So there's a little box there. I see the little boxes moving, so I think some people know. At least they're saying, are they saying hi? Hi. Okay. So let's see. I guess we could try, making the screen look around a little bit.
Oh, show the one from your mom.
Oh, you want to see? Okay. I'll bring it
The
out.
inspiration from your mother.
Yes. With the printer, I think this one I just painted though. With the printer, I can actually use people's faces. This one I think I painted, but as I mentioned, my mother made a lot of little porcelain fairy dolls, and I don't know, the house that she lived in, her father built in 1934, and it looks like a fairy house in the woods. It's magic looking. And there's pictures of my mother when she was about 10 years old. She had platinum blonde hair, and she's walking towards the house, and all you see is this big glow around her head and this beautiful house that she's walking to. So Mom passed away suddenly about 12 years ago. And of course, I was inspired to try and make a puppet that sort of reminded me of her. And I guess it does, because Glenna, after a number of years, remembered this one and asked me to bring it out. So this is my blue fairy in honor of my mother. That's her. And this one's all fiberfill. I think I had not started with the balloons yet when I started making her. And then this is another one. A dear friend of mine, Michelle Sewell Walkenhorst, gave me a marionette a couple of years ago that was just so precious. It was this size, and it inspired me to try and make a little one that really moved well. This one doesn't move as well as the one that she gave me, but it is a small, what you consider regular size puppet, so there may be more. This was a project at the beach. We go to the beach every summer, and I always have a project. So painting all of her little feathers and sculpting her little head and everything is what I did a few years ago at the beach. There she goes. Woo! Oh, something else I could, let me think, is it quick enough to grab it? See, move it around just a little bit. I want to get the big cape thing that I painted last year. It's right here. I don't know if I can get it on to do it.
Well, I'm moving it around.
Okay. Well, maybe Nick can message you if we don't get back on the thing correctly. Okay. I don't think come out. Oh, I think some of them actually, I probably don't really need to show it again because some of these saw it when I put a little video of me running around the yard in it. And I think we can bring it out.
So who's that gray guy up there?
Up above the umbrellas,
Yes,
that's Sam Elliott. Hi, Sam.
Sam Elliott is here.
Yes. I had the tremendous good fortune to have met Sam Elliott on two different occasions. One was I do a marionette program for the Lincoln County, Oklahoma Historical Society. And one of the characters, it's a local character in Chandler, is Marshal, United States Deputy Marshal William Tillman. Well, Sam Elliott played Bill Tillman in a TNT movie that was made about the story of his life. So his people called my people at the museum and said, tell me about Bill Tillman, and they sent them information, background about Marshal Bill. So when they had the grand opening at the Oklahoma City, I think they did it at the Cowboy Hall of Fame. No, that was later. at one of the big theaters in Oklahoma City. Sam Elliott was there for the premiere, and we were invited, the folks from the museum. So I took the Bill Tillman, which was Sam Elliott's character, marionette, and my wonderful friend in Chandler, Mrs. Sally Farrell, being a rather aggressive person sometimes, marched me right up to where Sam was standing in front of Mary Fallon and pushed everybody out of the way and introduced me, as the person that was playing Bill Tillman in Chandler. And he was very, very sweet and very complimentary of the puppet and everything else. And signed the back of my dress for me. That's another long story. And gave me a big hug and a big kiss. And I just was absolutely out of my mind. So when I came home, I built that one. You can't see it because it's hung way up, but it's sort of a centaur. It's like a lion. And it's got Sam's face from a magazine picture that I found.
I have a question.
Oh, good.
Did Jim Henson's career, his puppets, did they influence you in your craft?
I don't think so much. I mean, I was still pretty young, but I was doing puppets by the time Henson, really started hitting the big time. And it was such a different style of doing things. I've never done mouth puppets, that move their mouths. And puppetry for television, that's just for television, is a very special art. There's what you don't see. Well, you may have seen pictures, but when you see Kermit and another puppet like this, you're seeing, from here up, and there's like 5 or 6 people down here doing this, doing that. And so I wouldn't say so. Now, Sherry Lewis, on the other hand, I was just a little girl when she was on television with Lamb Chops. And I do remember that and thinking it was absolutely fantastic. And when my daughter Alice was 6, I found out she was going to be in Branson. So we went to the Andy Williams Playhouses where she was going to be doing her show. And before I went, I sent a letter and I said, I'm a puppeteer and my daughter and I are coming to your show. When we got to the theater, Sherry had left a message at the box office to call her and send us down to see her. So we got to meet Sherry Lewis, and she asked Alice, now my daughter used to help me with my puppets. Do you help your mother? And at that point, Alice did, from time to time, help me with puppetry. It was just wonderful. The show was unbelievable. I mean, it wasn't a puppet show. It was an opera. She does everything. Well, she was a conductor, an orchestra conductor for the years that she was banned from television, and that's another long story. So she developed all kinds of talents, and then later she kind of incorporated them into her puppets. And it was just a wonderful show. And she called me out during the show and had me stand up. And at the end, she did 2 shows a day. And I think at that time she was 62. 2 shows a day. And this was the first show, and she called us up to the front of this huge line of people that wanted a signature on a poster or something. And of course, I had bought everything in the gift shop, a lamb chops, a Sherry Lewis, and all this. And she signed everything, had her picture taken with Alice with her, which I still have up on the wall in a frame case that has all of those things in it. So she, in being such a multi-talented person and having an influence on me when I was 5 and 6 years old, I think more so than Jim Henson. Jim Henson's later stuff I just love, the Labyrinth and the Skeksis and all those wonderful, wonderful stuff. Oh, thanks for the question. And any more before I go on to something else?
It's been about 22 minutes.
Oh, really? Okay. We're about done.
Yeah, we're about done. Maybe one more question. Let me see.
Good.
Somebody sent me something.
Good. This is the project. I was fortunate enough to get to go to Costa Rica for a month right before all this started and everything started shutting down. And this was my project. I got this cape was already sewn up, and I sort of painted the giant colors on it, and then I took 172 different colored permanent markers and sat, each day I would spend so many hours sitting on the beach, sitting on the deck, coloring it in. So that's what you saw on the arts page when I was running around the yard, was my Costa Rica project. So do we have one more question?
No, that's it.
Oh, okay.
I'm just going to move the camera now
Yes.
around so.
And we can move the light. I'll point the light up more so maybe you can see what's up in the loft better.
For about a minute.
Yeah, just a minute. Okay. We're doing this blind because for some reason the preview isn't happening on the computer. La 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 la, the Playhouse. See, it says happy birthday. Aiden just turned 7, and a month before him, my granddaughter Riley. And after both of those, by a few days,
You can see there's a
Alice.
audience. What do you call that second level up there?
That's the loft.
The loft.
Yeah.
But it's in the round, so.
Alice was still in school, of course, when this was built, and this end, the far end of the loft, has an open space, like a room, and she had slumber parties, and kids would come stay over. We also had some dance parties down here. Alice's, 4th grade class, I think, the gifted and talented kids did a special project where they came out here and did Dancing Through the Decades. And you can't really see, it's so full now. But around the edges are different little sections, kind of like the Globe Theater was. So each little group had a section and did, I don't remember, what was it, 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, or maybe it was later than that. So they actually came out in the bus, and then other kids came out in a bigger bus, and we had a big program out here. It was lots of fun. Are we done? Thank you all for tuning in.
Oh, one mention. Selina Jane Dornan will have John Tiger as the guest artist next week.
Wow, that would be good.
Yeah.
Bye. First thing I'm going to do is turn off the heat lamp. There we go. Well, I was hoping not to turn it on just because it makes a little bit of noise, but it's not very loud. It probably didn't pick it up.
We'll be able to see. I'm going to try to save this.